Financial Matters.
22 minutes after 8 o'clock, Abalwa Nonkenge is here with me. She is a seasoned business leader. She's a teacher. She's founder of Epokothweni podcast and financial advisor. And she joins me here in studio. Sis, thank you so much for coming to the studio once again. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
You've just recently come back from Rwanda.
I have.
How was that?
Without getting political, I was chuckling when you were making the opening remarks about who should we be angry at.
Yeah.
In that country, the president comes for you if something goes wrong.
Really?
I was told of a story where one of the army generals was dismissed on the spot without benefits because he tried to use his influence to get a child of his drivers into one of the public schools.
Wow.
That was it. So I guess as much as we can say the anger of South Africans is a little bit irrational, it's a question of where does the accountability lie? If the president can't say to Bekicele of the police, get rid of these chaps, then the next person has to be the deputy president.
Right.
Somebody has to be accountable. It starts with the little things that we've just let politicians and office bearers get away with. And now we are irrationally angry, unfortunately.
Do you think democracy is a bit overrated sometimes?
Look, we need something that works. We need accountability that works. I'm not going to label it because I'm not a political person. But safe to say that after a few days in the capital of Rwanda, I'm ready to leave you all with your load shedding.
Really? Really? You're going to join the former Minister of Finance?
I am patriotic. Yeah. I love you all. The thing about that country is such a testimony of proper management and accountability. Yeah. And that's the one thing we're lacking. We've got everything. We've got mineral resources. We've got tourism. We've got everything. Do you know that the two things they've got going for them is agriculture and tourism only?
Right.
And great management.
Yeah. So we do need to have a conversation about accountability, about management, and the platform that we do all of this on, which is our, suppose, brand of democracy. I see the mayhem that's going on in France at the moment. It has started a new conversation there about issues of accountability, of democracy. So I think that the issue of accountability is a big one. And we need to have that conversation, I suppose, in more creative ways in our country so that we can get things to work, as you say. Let's talk a little bit about goals. I swear to you, I didn't arrange the fact that Stanley is going to be talking about goals. You're going to be talking about goals. So maybe we do need to focus on the issue of goals. You want to talk about SMART goals. Talk to me about that. Why are we talking about that?
SMART financial goals.
Yeah.
So not general. Health is great. Going to gym is great.
Right.
Spending time with your family is great. But SMART financial goals is what will determine whether the next year that rolls around, you are still at the same level or you're actually moving forward. Because SMART as an acronym refers to whether your goals are specific, your financial goals are specific, meaning something as simple as they must be specific to my budget. So I know right now that I can't say that I'm committing to putting away 20,000 rands a month because personally I know I can't afford that right now. M stands for measurable. So I can't measure my goals for the most part. A lot of people can't measure their goals in US dollars if we were living in South Africa because our currency is the rand. Or we can also measure the goals using time. In how many months will I have achieved XYZ?
Yeah.
Are they achievable? I can look at my neighbor who drives, the latest sports car, right? But that's not achievable for me. I need to find a goal that is achievable to me. Is it relevant? It's great to maybe want to clean up the neighborhood or doing something for humanity, but realistic or relevant financial goals means it's going to make a difference to my financial life, to my pocket. And then the last letter in the acronym T is time-bound. Very important to not have open-ended goals because then you are just on a long, unending journey and you're not really tracking yourself in terms of how you're doing with your finances.
So maybe we need to have that conversation about how far are you with the designing of your financial goals? Because I think sometimes we can get a little bit arbitrary about it. We can get very nonchalant about it. I'm going to save 20,000 rands a month without really looking at the feasibility of it all, right? And that SMART acronym is really focusing us to be able to say, are these goals really achievable in terms of what each letter stands for in that acronym SMART? So I'm interested to hear from you, having heard what SMART stands for. How have you done this year in the design of your goals? Because I imagine, Babalwa, that would, if you understand the importance of SMART goals, then many of us are going to find out that our goals aren't really goals, are they?
And you want to discover it now in the middle of the year.
Yeah.
Because the next thing you're going to hear in 2 days' time, for example, SARS is going to go live with all of our tax returns and ask us to look at the auto assessments. Then you're going to hear things about savings month. And so if you are not tracking how you're doing already, and maybe being honest about the fact that January to June didn't really go well, you're going to get hyped up around potentially the refund you could get from the receiver. But because you are not thinking using the framework of this acronym SMART, I don't know how you're going to fare for the rest of the year. So it's a pivotal, I think, point in the year to say, what can I tweak? What has worked? What hasn't worked since the year started? Maybe, yes, in my goal to be debt-free, I thought that I would do it in 12 months.
Yeah.
Perhaps I need to give myself 12 more months because what? The interest rates have gone up. So the cost of the debt that I'm servicing has literally gone up. Maybe some people need that reality check. Some people need to be a little bit more intentional, like I mentioned with taxes. Some people get refunds every year, but can never account to themselves what they've done with it in terms of the SMART goals. So the midpoint of a year is really great because you can course correct so that you can use the rest of the year to still go towards your goals.
I think that's so important that you can course correct. Because then I speak for myself here, and I have a sneaky suspicion that other people are guilty of the same thing. But when I get to a point where I have not done very well with certain goals, I somewhat just abandon the whole thing, right? But the idea that you can course correct, that you can stop and reassess and restart, recalibrate, is very encouraging, because very often when we don't achieve those goals with the enthusiasm of the New Year season, and we get to June, July, and we haven't achieved those things, we abandon that idea. You're saying that it is, at this point of the year, good, okay, and advisable to course correct.
Completely. I've got my props here. I've got an envelope, because I think an envelope is a simple enough thing. I've got actually a few envelopes.
Right.
So this one that's in my hand is for somebody who had a short-term goal.
Right.
And the short-term period is 6 to 12 months. This person might have said to themselves in January 2023, in January of 2024, I don't want to have salty cracks or putu and water in the fridge. But this person may look at their affairs and say, oh, that was just a big goal that I set. I did not become specific with it. Meaning I did not say, I want to set up a debit order of 1,000 rands to talk to that S acronym. I did not measure myself. The only time I'm looking at it is now that I'm hearing Aubs and Babalwa on the radio, right? Perhaps I should have said 500 rands per month, because 1,000 was really unattainable for me. I had not answered the question of where the cash was going to come from.
Yeah.
This is a person doing an evaluation mid-year, because they still have a chance, because their goal is 6 to 12 months, remember. They've still got the remainder of the year to still put something away. Yes, they will not have the 1,000 rands times 12 that they thought that they would have. But if they start at the payday of July,
yes,
perhaps with 500 rands, maybe at the end of the year, they will have 6,000 rands, right? And they will be able to not have a January of January. Maybe they will still have something in the kitty to help them to travel back from the rurals to the city, come back to work. It's better than not evaluating and having nothing in the kitty at all. Because if you have nothing in the kitty at all, we all know you're going to go to the credit card, you're going to go to the mashonisa. So that's the practicality with which we need to approach our goals and re-evaluating them at this midpoint in the year.
Give us a call. How are you doing with your goals? Are they smart? Yeah. What is your relationship with your goals? Do you look at your goals and think yes, or do you look at your goals and think, I'm probably not going to make it? Why is it that you feel that way? And maybe it has to do with the fact that it is not smart, it's not achievable, it's not measurable, it's, all of the things that Abalwa is talking about. So I'm interested to hear from you how you are doing with your goals, your experience with people that you talk to around the idea of goals. Typically, what do people want to achieve financially?
Sifuna ukuba nemali eningi.
Sidle inyama eningi.
Like Big Zulu.
Yes.
Look, people want to leave a legacy for their children.
Yeah.
That is a very big thematic focus, because I think a lot of us, we bootstrapped. And children grow very fast.
Yeah.
1 minute Johnny is going to crash, the next Johnny is a full-grown man.
Yep.
And he's starting his first job, or going to university. So those are some of the big goals that people have. But every goal is valid, bro. The goal to want to have a January money when you come back to Johannesburg in January, that's very valid. The goal to take yourself out. We work very hard in the cities to do something for yourself, to do that trip, even if it's to Mozambique or to Cape Town if you've never been. Very valid. A very big one is getting out of debt, because debt has gotten quite expensive. And we've got clothing accounts. Some of us buy our food on credit. We've got home loans. We've got cars. So it's a very, very big one that people feel overwhelmed by, and they find themselves thinking, should I consolidate my loans? Should I go to debt counseling? So those are some of the very thematic ones that we see.
Give me a call. What are your goals? Do you have goals? Or have you sort of given up on this idea of goal setting and you're living your life on a day-to-day basis? And I imagine you encounter a lot of that too, where people just live their lives, almost a treadmill kind of life without the idea of goals, because it's just too much of a hassle.
And it can get quite morbid, because people think, life is too short.
Yeah.
Why the hell are you asking me to think about retirement? I want to eat all my money now. I want to buy all the latest fashion right now. I don't have children. I don't want people to be wealthy after I'm gone.
Is that valid?
So I would say there's validity to it, but not 100%. I think when we do budgets, no matter how much you earn, you can earn 1,500 rands, but I think there can be a line there for Magnum ice cream, if that's your thing. Right. There can be a line there if you earn 15,000 for, I don't know, once a week takeaway, right? Because what is that saying? It's saying at every level of your earning, you who works hard you thank yourself. I have this concept of thanking myself. How did I thank myself this year? Personally, I'm very miserable if I get to the end of the year and I can't point to something I've just done for Babalo. Not for the house, not for my family, not for my loved ones, but for me, the person who wakes up every day and goes to work. And so that varies. Where we miss it is where the person on 15,000 wants to do something to thank themselves every month in their budget that is equal to somebody that earns 150,000 a month. That's where the mismatch is. But it is valid to give yourself those moments of gratification, because we do work hard, And
I suppose goals help us to focus us, right? To give us some sort of direction. Because we can get into a situation, especially in this current economic climate where there's so much uncertainty and anxiety, that we just get on to autopilot. But goals somehow feel like they empower you, that you don't feel like you are you just happenstance. There's power that goes along with that. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing you say is that goals help you feel a little bit more in control.
Yeah.
And less like life is happening to you, like you are making some of good moments of your life happen for yourself.
Yeah.
That's exactly what goals make you do. or help you to do.
So let me ask you to give me a call and ask you, what is your relationship with goals? Do you have goals? Or are you at a place now where you've given up on the very idea of goals because just life feels just so overwhelming? Give me a call. I'd like to hear your thoughts. And what is the reason? What was that moment that made you give up? Or it's perhaps the other way around. You've just discovered the power of goals. And perhaps we are talking here about the quality of your goals more than just having goals. Because I think the smart idea is about the quality of the goal now. It's not just the goal, but the quality of the goal. When you talk about measurability, time, and all, the quality of the goal is enhanced by this smart idea?
So, for example, if you're 45 years old, you are closer to retirement than somebody who's just started their job.
Yeah.
And so it is better if you wake up to this idea of setting smart goals, because right now you can decide, okay, so the government, whenever me and you contribute to either a retirement fund, a provident fund, or
that two-pot thing that's coming up, eh?
we can have a separate conversation.
Yeah.
But it reduces your taxable income, meaning you get incentivized to save more towards your retirement. Now, is it better to discover that 5 years to retirement, or 15, or even 10 years to retirement, when you can adjust your budget accordingly and decide that, you know what, I want to have a higher level of income when I retire, because, people's old people diseases catch up with them, or you want to do more trips with the wife now that the kids are out of your home. It's better if you set yourself your SMART goal to say, I only contribute, for example, to the work pension fund right now, but starting from this year, I'm going to use half of my 13th check, yes, to spoil the wife, but I'm going to use half of it to contribute to an RA, or that tax-free investment. Because I am 15 years away from retirement, I've still got time to make use of the deductibility of my contributions towards a pension funding investment, be it an RA, be it a provident fund. I've still got time. So it's good that you think about that. It's smart that you think about that, because you can get specific with how much money and where that money is going to come from. It's measurable, because then you can say, I started 15 years before retirement to top up, right? And so you can say, if it's half of your 13th check, or if it's a quarter of your 13th check, that's measurable. It's achievable, because this is all using money that you are earning right now.
Yeah.
You are not planning on future earnings. It's relevant to you because it's going to make a difference to your life post-retirement. And it's time-bound, because there is definitely a difference in the compounding and growth effect if somebody who is 45, for example, starts thinking along those lines right now instead of 2 years to retirement.
Koketso Tiase says, hi, Braops. How practical can we make setting financial goals when you are a freelancer? The income is generally inconsistent. That's a very, very important question. People that don't have a predictable amount of money as a salary every month. Sometimes you're doing well, sometimes you're not doing at all.
So freelancers are some of the smartest people I know with their money.
Yeah.
They're the people that will actually tell you where the special for washing powder is. So they'll tell you if it's Spar or Checkers. So those are some of the smart things. Bulk buying, because you know that when the income dries up, when you don't have income for the next 3 months, if at the time where you've got income, you buy some of the things you know are staples in bulk, or you contribute to a stock file that ensures that at the start of the year, you've got all your cleaning things for the year. That's one of the ways.
So what you're saying to me is that regardless of your salary circumstances or of your income circumstances, you can still set smart goals. It's not just for people who have a predictable set amount of money that they earn at the end of the money that are the goal setters, smart goal setters. Even if your earning potential is erratic, you can still set smart goals.
We have to be able to use what's in our hands. So the person who earns irregular income as a freelancer, I can't ask them suddenly to have regular, it's not I can't change their circumstances like that, but I can advise them to say, ensure that you claim all of your expenses, because that's tax efficiency. You're reducing your expense to the government that you pay tax. Because you're a freelancer, you've got so much more expenses than a person who's in a typical 9 to 5 to claim against your income. Now, that person may not have access to such advice, or if they do, they may not, record the things appropriately. That's knowledge, that's education, that's also choice. But where the person has maximized on the tax, again, there is the group saving schemes which help us stay accountable. There are things like bulk buying, which, yes, are not going to make the circumstances of a freelancer identical to a 9 to 5, but then he can enhance his chances of growing his wealth by being smart about their goals.
So I can, my apologies. I hear very often how we get ourselves into a situation where we've already defeated ourselves in the way that we think. So, for example, I'm a freelancer, therefore I can't make the kinds of smart goals that Abalwa was talking about. Or I have family, I've got black tax. I can't afford to make these smart goals that you're talking about. I am, whatever the story is, you're saying that there is no reason, given your circumstances, that you can't make smart goals that are going to serve you as far as your finances are concerned.
I'll make it very practical. There are people who earn more than R1 million a year who are terrible with money just because of their habits. Their priorities are out of whack. Then you get people who are cleaners, who are in very, very menial jobs, who don't earn much. But that person's priorities are straight. When their salary comes in, you will not find them buying drinks for everybody. You'll find them paying rent, you'll find them paying for the essentials and contributing to their stokvel.
And building a hell of a house in the rurals.
And the ones who's got all the access to money, because of their priorities and the order of their expenditure every month, they will actually end up spending more than what comes in. And so it's very important to be empowered to realize that with whatever you've got in your hands, however much you earn, you can always improve.
Is there a rule of thumb, Abalwa, about priorities? In other words, somebody may nod and say, yeah, you're right. I earn quite a lot of money, but I can't account for it. But is there a rule of thumb that we can learn? I ask this question because personal finance is something that we haven't been taught, right? Is there a rule of thumb that says this is the way that you should, in general terms, be thinking about the prioritization of your money at the end of each month?
Can I maybe correct us as a nation when we say we haven't been taught?
Yeah.
There's only so long that we can hold on to that.
Yeah.
Because we're in 2023 now.
Yeah.
There's so many people, a lot of them much better even than what I do on Epokothweni.
Yeah.
That tweet, that post on all kinds of social media, which we're on every day. Everybody's got a phone. If you've got a phone, you've got podcasts, you've got Facebook. But the question is, are you following celebrity culture, or are you following people that are going to empower and teach you? So that's the first correction I'd like to bring. The second, to answer your question, is if you are out of home and you are working, please can your shortage or your shortcoming not lead you to not having money to go to work. So rent, money to get to work, food to eat, and just your own personal upkeep. If we are going to help you, Bra Obs, if you've got shortcomings, if you've got shortfalls, can it not be for those things? I would also advocate and say, once the rent has been paid, once there's transport to go to work and food, pay yourself. Pay yourself. That thank you to Babalwa, which might be a Magnum chocolate, or
because Magnum is life.
It speaks to me. It might not speak to you.
Right.
Yours might be a dumpy of something or other, but mine is Magnum.
Right.
But pay yourself for that thing where you can point to, or even if you point to the photos. I like trips, so I like to be able to go back to my year and see how many trips have I done, what part of the world have I seen. Now for somebody else, it might not be trips, but it might be a perfume. Perfume is very expensive. we are as different as fingerprints. We are all unique. But the principle remains that the essentials and paying for yourself, I would say that is the rule of thumb.
So we no longer have the luxury of, we were never taught this, says Bawalwa. Yeah. So we can't rest on those laurels and say, we never had a class on personal finance in matric. Our circumstances should either be the teacher, our priorities should teach us, but we've got cell phones, we've got access to technology. If we want to get a specific question answered, the answers are out there if you really, really want to. Tell me, though, about the mindset that is always looking for why I can't do what I'm supposed to do. It appears to me that sometimes we spend more time thinking about why I can't do something than why I should develop the disciplines to be able to do something. To what extent is that perhaps part of the reason why we don't have goals? Forget about SMART goals.
Life is tough. I won't deny that. But life has been tough before. If you speak to our parents, our grandparents, life has been tough.
Yeah.
And they were responsible for a whole lot more heads and mouths than what we typically are now in 2023. So I think studying history, even within our families, will help contextualize a little bit what we're going through right now. I'm not saying that it's not awful, that our tires and rims don't get bent on potholes every day, that it's not scary to drive in dark streets because of load shedding. But I'm saying that in history, there have been similar difficulties which people have lived through and actually thrived. I mean, the founder of ShopRite will even tell you that in times of crisis, when everybody's scurrying and fearing, that's where some of the business opportunities are. And so history teaches us that people have overcome things and people have actually found opportunities to thrive and make money because of the panic that ensues sometimes. So it's once we've studied the history and contextualized what we're going through and calmed ourselves enough, I think we can actually spot opportunities to uplift ourselves.
Is the advent of certain sort of technological conveniences and the ease of access to certain things made us weaker?
It's hard to answer that in a general statement, Bra Aubrey. I think we have choices as individuals. The simple example I made about we can be on Facebook all day looking at what was worn by people at the Durban July. Or we can be on Facebook following people that teach us about how to invest. Testimonials from people who've come out of debt. It's how you use the technology. It's not the technology in and of itself, but it's the choices we make around it, and how we decide to use it to empower ourselves or disempower ourselves.
My name is Jeff. I'm from Boksburg. Is 32-day bank notice a good investment? What were some of my money goals monthly? I'm not really sure what that statement means, but is a 32 bank notice account a good investment?
So if the purpose of that 32-day account was for use in the short, so 6 to 12 months. So if you wanted to keep it for that, for a purpose of something you're going to use there, yes. If you're using a 32-day account, for example, solely only that 32-day account for retirement purposes, then it wouldn't be appropriate.
So whatever facility that exists, whether it's a 32-day account, whether it is non-taxable savings account, or that thing,
it needs to be aligned.
It needs to be aligned to a particular goal
yes.
or the particular priority.
Yeah.
And that's why I've been asking some of those ontological questions about are we perhaps encumbered by the inability to will ourselves to do certain things because of what? Because I agree with you that if you look at history, generations before us had tougher times, but they were able to achieve certain things that we in this particular generation find a little tricky to achieve. what has happened to the psychology, because goal setting, and even more smart goal setting, requires not only the knowledge of how to do that, but it requires a certain level of willpower. There's a certain effort that it requires, a certain discipline that it requires. And my sense is that that's where the problem is. It's not the matter of we don't know what to do, but perhaps not having the willpower to do what we are supposed to do.
I mean, there are a lot of competing priorities. The cost of living has gone up drastically, which means that, some people are saving less than what they would have just because petrol is more expensive to get to work. That's a valid reason. But is it valid enough to say that you must not be cautious about how much you spend so that you can still have short-term, medium-term? Because in the short term, December is coming.
Yeah.
We're all going to need to have money for the start of the year.
Boss.
Johnny is going to go to university. He's in grade 7 right now. So we need something in 5 years' time. And the retirement is still coming, despite all of those challenging circumstances that we have. I think we just need to be sober-minded and circumspect. And also, the actuaries are telling us that we're living much longer.
Yeah, I heard somebody say that the person is going to be 200 is already born or something like that.
We are definitely living much longer because even though, our public health system is not in the best of states, but most people are trying to get onto medical aid. A lot of people are a lot more aware. And so if you're not planning for retirement and post-retirement, if you're not planning for 5 years' time, if you're not planning for 12 months' time and only living for the petrol price now, then you're not really engaging yourself and being as smart as what you could be.
So what is the problem, Abalwa? Why is it that we're not getting more people with goals? And I'm not even going to the smart goals yet. Why is it that it feels or seems as though we are unable to understand these very critical principles that you've been talking about now in our existence, not only for ourselves, but for posterity? Why is it that more and more people aren't jumping at the opportunity to set goals, but more importantly, smart goals?
I think part of it is education, and your show is great because consistently every Wednesday, if somebody commits, they will learn. If we've got people listening to us tonight that have been learning from the beginning of the year, from not just me, but Dr. Frank Makwegwe as well. Tonight is an opportunity for that person to go back to all the notes that they've been taking and go back and listen to some of the podcasts and say, okay, I listened with this one ear, but I didn't do ABC that I was being taught. So sometimes the problem is the disconnect between we take in information, but we don't actually do it. So the midpoint of the year is great to say, right, I've learned, I know theoretically so much, but if I look at what I've practiced, it's only 5% of what I've heard.
So what needs to happen to narrow further the knowing-doing gap? Because it appears that we know, but we seem not to be too good at doing what we know we ought to be doing. How do we, is there a principle, is there something that we can adopt to narrow that knowing-doing gap?
There's a couple of things. For example, saving with a group is great because that's accountability.
Yeah.
And keeping on learning, so listening to different voices, that develops the muscle eventually. For some people, they'll need professional help. For some people, it's not enough to self-propel and self-educate. And so when that time comes, just like you're not ashamed to go to an orthopedic when you've broken your arm, please do not be afraid or ashamed to approach a qualified wealth manager or financial planner if that's what you need.
Tell me what SMART stands for again as we close.
It stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals.
Abalwa Nonkenge, how do people find Epokothweni, by the way?
We are on all the socials, Epokothweni.
Epokothweni.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we also have a WhatsApp line for people that don't like social media.
Yeah.
It's a WhatsApp line only, 072-650-7641.
How's the podcast doing?
It's doing great.
Yeah.
It's been nominated for a couple of awards.
Nice.
And we're going to be busy this month talking about tax, talking about savings month, talking about the two-pot system.
You need to come and talk to us about the two-pot system.
I will.
Yeah, you need to come.
Send the text. I will come.
We've been having different voices around that issue, but we need to have you come and talk to us about the two-pot system. Abalwa Nonkenge is my guest this evening, talking about goals, smart goals. A seasoned business leader, teacher, founder of Epokothweni podcast, also a financial advisor. Thank you very much for your time.